o'clock, so we'll bring this meeting to the beginning. So thank you all for joining us this morning. First item on the agenda is a call for apologies. There appear to be none. Does anyone know of any apologies? There might be one from Dan.
He's probably
on the call. That's all right. We can fix that a bit later on. Conflict of interests? Appear to be none. We'll move right on into the confirmation of minutes for the Audit and Risk meeting held Tuesday the 17th of February. I trust everyone's had a chance to read through the minutes. Is anyone prepared to move? We've got Councillor McLaren, second, Councillor Bartle. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Any matters arising? Appear to be none. We have no presentations or deputations, so we'll move straight into reports. 5.1 Enterprise North Canterbury's 6-month results.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kia ora koutou, everyone. The purpose of this report is to present the Enterprise North Canterbury 6-monthly report to the end of December 2025, including the 6-monthly accounts to the same period, and to present also the draft statement of intent for feedback from the committee. The ENC board approved the draft statement of intent on the 11th of February, so earlier this year. And just to note, Enterprise North Canterbury have a strategic planning day in April, so the timing of this is very good. Any feedback that the committee might have on the statement of intent can be incorporated into that strategic planning day prior to the presentation of the final statement of intent to this committee in a few months' time. We'll take the report largely as read, but before I do, I'll hand over to Heather Warwick, who's with us here from ENC, the Chief Executive from ENC, just to make any further points about her reports, and then we'd be happy to take questions.
Good morning, it's a pleasure to be here to present the 6-month report for Enterprise North Canterbury. We're a small team, but we, in the last 6 months, have proven that we're an impactful team. The highlights are under our strategic objectives. The first one being grow our regional profile. Originally, it was about attracting talent to the North Canterbury Waimakariri region, but we all know that talent is easier to get now than it's ever been. For example, we've just advertised for a new business growth advisor, had 58 applications. We've never had that number before, and they're all of very, very high standard. And you hear about other organisations getting 100 applications. So we pivoted to actually growing our region profile rather than just attracting talent. And that is showcasing us as a great place to live, visit and do business. Under that particular objective of growing our regional profile is our Made North Canterbury brand, which is about celebrating local food and drink producers. And how we've done that is not just the producers, but it's buddying them up with a restaurant or a cafe or a pie shop. And so in the last 6 months, we set off and introduced the first pie trail that we've ever run. It made national TV, NZ Breakfast. It got recognised for an award at the regional Economic Development New Zealand, and we were showcased in Auckland. For the work that we do, it's not just a me, it's a team. We were recognised in the top 50 women of influence and inspiration in New Zealand for our brand, Food and Drink Made North Canterbury, and it was a pleasure to be there with some other amazing women. We think that we are celebrating our own food and drink, and we've got a lot to be proud of. So under the Made North Canterbury, we are growing that strong regional brand. Also, as I said, we produced a video, which I think you've all seen, and if you haven't, you need to go on the website, waimakariri.govt.nz, and that showcases our region. It's absolutely beautiful, and there wouldn't be any reason why people wouldn't want to move here and set up a business here. It was under the Proud to Be Here campaign, that's our tagline, and it was trying to also quell that inspiration and that love of our region from everybody that is in business here and who lives here. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. So that is Kelly and Alyssa that are in charge of those two responsibility roles under that objective. And then we have Miles under business attraction, and that's where he sits down with people who are looking to move to the district or set up a business that are already here. We're well known and we've received awards for business startup support. That's in our DNA, that's in Miles's DNA to help small businesses or people who look to set up a business. He puts them through a pretty rigorous program, and if 1 out of 10 progress, that's a success for us. If 9 out of 10 don't, that's also a success for us. A lot of people don't do the market research that's required of starting a business, and we make sure that they do because we don't want to see businesses fail. In our DNA for ENC has always been about business, supporting existing businesses and our outreach. How do we meet? How do we meet with new businesses who haven't heard about us? So we are the only contractor for North Canterbury to run the MB, which is the Ministry of Business, for regional business partner programs. So we have an $80,000 bucket of funding that we can distribute to around between 50 to 80 businesses a year. Sometimes it's not money that they need, it's actually just that support. Sometimes they even solve their own problems when they talk it out, but we call them discovery sessions where we sit down one-on-one, and that has been Guy's role and also a bit of Miles. And Guy has just resigned after 7 years of being with ENC, and he's staying in the region, he's taking on a contract role with the clearing in Amberley. So we're pleased to see him progress his career, and we're in the process of appointing a new person this week. So we're really pleased with the applications, as I said. We've been running AI workshops, supervising and managing others. Our role is to connect and get people to work together, invest in themselves and grow their business and their capability. They've got to obviously know what their shortcomings are, and some don't, but we encourage them to come in and train with us. And also we run our networking functions. I think some of you may have been here or maybe not. Last couple of weeks ago we held one in the Waipara Wine House, and we're not sure if it was the fact that it was at the Wine House or it was ENC, because an insurance broker doesn't always pull the numbers that we did, and we had 151 register for that with over 100 turning up, and it was a splendid night. And it was followed the next day by the launch of an agri-tourism New Zealand network in Waimakariri at Andrew Gilchrist's place up in Swananoa. We ran the Business Awards last 6 months. Looking back, outstanding number of 57 entries, considering it was a tough year last year for businesses, and not just retail and hospitality, most businesses. We're seeing a turnaround currently for the construction industry. It's picking up again, but last year it was in the doldrums, obviously. So we had to change our tagline for the Business Awards. It wasn't about business excellence, as it has been, because most people, hand on their heart, didn't have an excellent year last year. So we branded it Your Moment, Your Story, and that got so many people motivated to actually share their stories. It was a great evening. It's a $140,000 event that we run ourselves. We save money, but it's not about that. It's actually about the engagement with those 57 businesses, getting their applications, because we're not the judges, up to the presentation that the panels or the judges would understand and appreciate. So the third aspect, as I said, of our objectives is to grow visitor numbers in our district. We are the district tourism organisation under the brand of Visit Waimakariri. We do, with Janine and her offsider, it was Zoe who's been on maternity leave. We keep the website up to date. We run campaigns. I don't know if you've seen the garden campaigns, cycling campaigns, and this year it's going to be shopping campaigns, because we've got all three in spades in our district. But we can't reinvent ourselves. It's always about putting that out front of people, first and foremost, and all our beautiful walkways as well that we've got. We've delivered half of the annual marketing campaign. Some numbers with the gardens, we had 35,000, nearly 36,000 clicks through on social medias, 10,000 visitors to our website alone just because of that campaign. We're also working with Attraction Studios who have helped us develop our playbook. So what is our strengths? What is our messaging? And I think we know that, but it's always nice to have a playbook so that we always keep coming back to, don't divert from what we know is our strengths. We don't have an icon, I've always said that, but our icon is our events. And so we're very strong on promoting, and developing, supporting, funding events. And events bring thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out to our district. The Swannanoa School Fair, the recent River Carnival, Woodford Glen, the Muscle Car Madness, should I say, the AMP shows are phenomenal. And often those people who come out to visit and participate in our events end up being residents of our region. So I think events are very strong and should always be a strength of our region, and we should always continue to focus on those and promote those. We run the information centre. Anna and Pauline do a great job. It's the only information centre in the whole of Canterbury. We're getting a lot of people come out from Christchurch on the bus or by car. We get so many people through the door with the Motorhome and Caravan Association Park, over 100 vans parked up there most nights. They want to know what there is to see and do, and on their bikes, and off to see the Rusty Acres and all the different places. So we're directing them and trying to keep them in the region. We also offer selling hangi tickets for Waitangi Day, the concerts that are run at the town hall. We offer all sorts of community support there. Just to summarise, I think it's been a good 6 months, but what have we got to look forward to this 6 months? We are going to, we just attended the North Canterbury Food and Wine Festival, first time under the brand of Made North Canterbury. We had two, we were going to have 3 producers there, and they had an outstanding day, and we gave away goodie boxes, which were all from North Canterbury product and produce. Caracas cheese were very generous, and some of the producers, and it was like queues in front of the stands. Wanting to taste the oil, try the crackers, make it raw crackers, which we've also showcased, and cheese from Caracas. Very successful dip in the water. We're going to attend the Motorhome and Caravan Association again expo this year in May. It's in Christchurch this year. We're actually launching and have launched the Business Summit, and I think you've all got you're going to get a copy on your desk. It's just something that we said, well, we're not going to run the business awards this year, but what are we going to run to keep our businesses celebrated, connected, and inspired? So we've brought in 4 keynote speakers, an economist, Mark Ingalls, Rick Gravwell, who started the Meat Box and a very successful e-commerce business. So he'll talk about his journey and how he went on to sell it for millions. And of course, Nadia Lim, who will talk about her regenerative farming. And she was actually named Most Inspiring Woman of the Year 2 years ago in food and drink. And then the afternoon's going to be sessions of focus groups. So you're going to prompt like a pro with AI learnings. You're going to define the numbers that matter with Sidekick around finance. You're going to have the Great Recharge, which is about talking about leadership and how you keep yourself inspired and well-being, and also a 30-day digital print growth blueprint. Growth blueprint, and that's Rick Gravell talking about getting online. So we've got today in. A week ago, we partnered with Rural Women New Zealand, and we're running an activator program. They struggled to get 6 or 10 women nationwide. We got 16 in North Canterbury that signed up to that program. So we're running 2 full days this week, and then we'll run another 2 full days because we had such amazing interest. This is around anybody who's in business. We are rural. It can be from people that live in Rangiora. We are a rural community, and we have many from across waimakariri. that have met with a panel for 45 minutes, have already submitted what they're doing, what their gaps and issues or opportunities are, and then the panel are outstanding people and give support and advice, and then they connect those activators on an ongoing basis, and they become a cluster of support networks. So we're always looking at ways to partner, because we haven't got the solution or the capability or capacity, I would say, of a lot of bigger organisations, but partnering with ones like the the Rural Women, Business Women is actually working really well. So we'll do the pie trail again. We will carry on doing our training of businesses. We've run our recent networking event. We've already got someone else lined up for the next one. They cost around $3,000 to run, and they're always fully sponsored, so it's not something that we sponsor, but we're the hosts. We're maintaining our sponsorship. We have 13 sponsors that provide ENC with around $80,000 worth of sponsorship each year, and that's the maintaining those relationships and making sure they feel valued and get value out of their investment in ENC. So I'm hoping that that this council feels that their investment is well placed in ENC. We're, as I said, a small but impactful team, and if there's any feedback to this report, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you for that. I was going to ask for questions, but Councillor Ward beat me to it, so Councillor Ward.
Thank you very much, and thank you and to your small team for everything you do for us as a region. We know that you do an amazing job, led by you, Heather, so we're very appreciative of what you do for us, so well done. I do have a couple of questions for you. One is on page 19, business opinion survey, what happens here, but the set-up business is really, I think there's 46 that Miles helped set up for this year. Can you just tell me or tell us, of those 46, what was the range? Were they retail, were they existing, or were they construction, or how was it made up, the 46?
Sorry, I can get that breakdown for you. They didn't necessarily all set up. He met with 46 businesses who wanted to set up a business, and probably there was another 40 that he put through his business, small business startup course that's online. Our website has a business startup course, and then if they've gone through that, then he will meet one-on-one with these other businesses. But there's certainly been many of those that have set up, so I can give you a breakdown, but not a lot of retail. A lot of businesses start up because they're really good at making something or a service, and they're usually one person.
Right, at home, start up from home and then grow from there.
Yeah, and you know, above us is where Jed Pierce has almost his little incubator there, where he's got, I think, 10 offices, and they're always full, and they have a high churn where the people are coming in for $150 a week, leaving their home office to come out and start, you know, setting up a real business rather than a hobby business, and then they go on to, you know, rent other premises or whatever. So there is, but I can get you a breakdown of that.
And Miles supports them through that process?
Yep.
I know last Thursday night he was beaming because he'd had such a lot of interest, and he felt that he was making a big difference.
Yes.
So well done to him for that. My other question and my concern that I have had for quite a long time is, how do we support our retailers? I know that online shopping is a really a big thing with everybody today, and I know we have our promotions association set up, but I have been concerned for quite a few years that our retailers are not getting the support or the communication and the enthusiasm of how do we grow our retailers, how do we encourage our retailers to promote what we have, because we have great retailers in Rangiora and Kaipoi and even Oxford. And I know that people come out from Christchurch to our retailers, but I'm just concerned that there isn't a designated committee or team to actually get around the retailers, go in and talk to the retailers, encourage them, what can we do for you? How can we promote you? How can we get more people shopping in our towns? Is that a fair comment?
It is, but I think you should be aware that there are some retail promotions actually in the wind. So our event funding panel just provided some funding to Shop Kaipoi, which is launching on the next Monday, 16th, I think is, no, maybe it was last Monday. Anyway, for the month of month of April, and they've already got 21 businesses on board, paying $100 each, providing a $50 voucher, and that's to encourage
Great,
people.
that's the sort of thing
Right,
that we need.
so that's Kaipoi Promotions doing that, and they did receive some funding from us to
cool.
promote it, but not for the coordination, because that would be double dipping.
Right.
And then we also approved $5,000 for a group of retailers in Rangiora, and they're going to run a 2-week winter festival shopping. It's all about shopping and lighting up their shops, and they want to light up.
That's great.
It's going to be like a midwinter festival, and they took their inspiration from Greytown. They do that. So there's a solid group of retailers there, and we've funded that $5,000. I think, Joan, that as you say, there has been a lack of it, and it comes and goes, but it's got to come from within the retailers themselves that they want it. You know, we can't go there and say, look, we've got a great idea, you need to band together. They've got to realise that, but we've come in and supported them. So we've said, right, we'll get on board with the Shop Kaipoi. So we paid our $100 and supplied $50 voucher for the information centre. So they can come in, they've got to pick up whatever their thing is, and it just brings people in. They've got to actually visit the 21 businesses to actually qualify to go in the draw to win the vouchers and things. So we get on board. We'll do the promotion of that as well. So we've already started promoting it. It's the same for Rangiora. Natalia's started. She's from Gathering You. She's really been the inspiration for the one in Rangiora. We've made contact with her already. We're going to help promote it. So again, we're a promotion agency. We are not a B2C, a business to consumer organisation. We're a business to business. So we connect businesses, we support businesses in their plight to do what they choose to do. And that bit of funding has really given them, I think, some confidence that the council's behind them too, because they're very aware that that's council funding.
That's very important. Oh, that's good. So, and I guess that's where Brent and his team comes in, and he's working on that. I realise that. But I just wanted to make a point that over the years I've been concerned that the retailers, so I've made my point.
Thank you.
I think the opportunity to realise some of that concern strategically will be within the statement of intent. So we're presenting that. I think we take your comments as feedback for the statement of intent, and we might present that concern to the board through the strategic planning exercise we do in April, and see whether they feel that we could reflect that within the statement of intent, some sort of focus placed on retail for the coming period as well. So in addition to those activities that Heather's just talked about, maybe we could look at that a bit more strategically as well, and think about what focus can ENC provide to retail to support them a bit more.
Just as a comment, I noticed that when they had Black Friday in November, you couldn't hardly, Rangiora was like gridlocked. And, you know, and the shops and everyone did really, really well. So that sort of thing would be really great.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is regarding the changes in the fuel issues that we're dealing with at the moment. How do you feel the district is placed to manage those changes? I mean, obviously there's a real cost affecting across the board. How strong is, I mean, you talk about a recovery in the business, certainly in some aspects, which is great, it's a good sign. But they're sort of being hit a little bit again. Hopefully it won't go on forever, but as crystal ball goes, and we have no idea. Yeah, where do you feel that as a district we're placed to handle that, or is it potentially manageable in a relatively easily way, or is it going to be a significant effect?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know personally, but what I would say is that Waimakariri is a very diverse industry-based district. So we do have agriculture, and it will impact farmers if they were in the middle of harvest. And I heard there has been quite a bit of diesel banking for the fact that they don't want to run out of, their tractor fuel and their harvester fuel in the midst of everything, because it's been a very wet summer. And I was talking to Andrew Gilchrist, and they were finally just getting on the land last week to get some of their specialised crops off. The manufacturing, you've got the likes of Haller's and Rangiora Bakery that are transporting goods to port and or wherever they distribute them. They're going to feel it whenever there's a fuel increase. It's not just that, it's the traffic, them sitting in the traffic every morning. Ron always tells me half an hour, that's all fuel, I just feel it's going to have a flow-on impact against all of our industries, but remembering we're very diverse and we've been able to weather a lot of economic impacts better than most districts in New Zealand because of our diverse economy.
Thank you.
Councillor Doody.
The question I wanted to ask much the same, so.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, just caught me by surprise there. No, fine. Oh, no, we're happy to hear from you, Councillor Doody. One of my questions was just about the objectives. I noticed that we've got visitor value, visitor numbers. I wonder about sort of the question of bed nights, about pulling people through for that extra night. And you've heard this question before, the pull through from east-west or west-east, the dark sky attractions, the getting the extra night and the B&B or accommodation, whatever type it is. Yeah. So are we focused on bed nights and accommodation, or is that not really, how does that fit?
Obviously our tagline has been, why not make a day of it? Because we've always been a day trip place. People come out from Christchurch and do our cycle trails and go back, and we haven't had, and the reason we have really pushed that is our events again, but there's not been the same level of accommodation as Christchurch, but we see Christchurch is full, 97% capacity. When they had the events, this is accommodation, we're all full. And that's spilled out to our district, and we do get the overflow a lot of in our motels, our Airbnbs and the like, but we've only got 16 commercial accommodation places in this district. So either somebody's going to have to build more because there's not the same number of accommodation, and it's the same in Selwyn. They don't have hardly any accommodation, and there's mainly day trips as well. But Janine is certainly working on the weekend, so you'll see a lot more campaigns around make a weekend of it. So trying to get people to stay, get out to Oxford, do the trails out there, come back and do the trails here, or visit the cafes, and it's our itineraries and planting those. We have 21 currently on our website, ideas of what you can do in the district, and she's definitely pushing the weekend stays now. So,
just secondary to that, do you feel that the number of so-called official accommodation providers is actually representative of what is actually out there? I hear this in Oxford, that when there's a big event on, everyone's putting up the house.
Of course.
That's, I suppose, and that's probably goes for the district, does it? But
it does. There's a lot. I think there's about a number like 170 Airbnbs is in my head right now, but there's hundreds everywhere. So people are on Airbnb, and you can actually do a search and see how many are in the district. And that's often a sleep out or a spare house on the farm, or they open up their doors when there's a real demand in Christchurch as well. So I guess the campgrounds are always full, in the summertime, you know, with all of the caravanning. We have peaks and flows, but you'll be pleased to know that we're getting as many international visitors in this district as Hurunui gets. And that's all through card spend that we know they're international. And it's up 17%, I think, in the last few months, international visitors. Yeah, they are everywhere. We're actually, yeah.
A quick applause for the agritourism network and the cycle trails. So, that wasn't a question, so thank you. Well done.
Any further? Councillor McLaren?
Thank you. One of the recommendations for this report is that we acknowledge the work carried out by ENC and thanks to the trustees and staff, and I think that goes without saying. And for me, it's not just the mahi, it's the thinking that you bring to it. But the question, you're obviously excellent at facilitation and promotion. Beyond that, you're uniquely positioned to advocate on behalf of the people you interact with and submit on matters that impact them. Is that a role or something, or are you Switzerland in these issues?
We tend never to submit on a council issue like consent, and that's in our policies. We're not to do that. We're not a chamber of commerce, so we're not an advocacy like they have members. We don't have members. The reason we don't is because of your grant that you give us. So that's where all of our services are free to every business in the Waimakariri. We are the ear of business. So if we hear of a concern, we will bring people together, but we're not out there advocating through a foghorn. You know. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick question from myself, if that's right, and then I believe Councillor Doody had another question. Yes, I do. So in terms of the statement of intent, could you highlight any material differences between last year's statement of intent and this year's statement of intent, just for the committee?
Not huge material. Basically, we only run the business awards every second year. So last year it was, the statement of intent said run the business awards. This year it's secure sponsors and launch the business awards. So we won't be running the business awards in this financial year coming up. So that's the major one. I haven't deleted anything else. I think we've added the summit, which is new for ENC. We'd like to be that an annual summit. Got the inspiration from the tourism summit where they did inspirational and focus groups, and it was a really good session, and you went away with things you could implement in your business straight away, and that's what we're trying to do. People aren't spending money currently on training and marketing. Those are the two things that stop when times are tough. They're all both nice to have. So our training numbers have dropped. So that's where I thought, well, if we run the focus sessions, then they're getting training as well as inspiration for the summit. And the marketing, it's just cut back. We are running a marketing course. We've only had 3 people register for it. So they obviously think they need to spend their money on keeping their staff and paying their rent. And, you know, that's the sign of the times right now. No, less marketing, less training.
Thank you very much. Councillor Doody.
Just briefly on with my with youth employment, have you thought about doing a summit for youth employment coming towards the end of the year and getting businesses on board?
No.
Right, thank you.
No.
That's it.
We've worked with youth before. It's impossible, and there's already people in that space.
Right.
You know, so we actually partner with MSD. I don't know if you know that. So they're in our office every Monday.
Oh, okay.
And I'm very aware what's going on in that space, and there's already a lot there happening.
That's
and
good.
We don't duplicate anything. Our core role is supporting businesses, and if it's to employ youth, not sometimes. So there is Mayor's Task Force for Jobs. There is, you know, the Youth Council. There's many avenues to get to us, to get to employers, but that's not something we put a hand up and say we're going to lead.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I might just break out into a mini workshop temporarily. So Councillor Ward's provided feedback, particularly focused towards into the retail sector. Is there any other areas of interest or concern that this committee would like to direct ENC in their statement of intent to explore over the next wee while? or we're quite happy with the inclusion of retail.
Just to this point, a little bit on the fly, but I'd really commend this business summit approach, the professional development aspect of it. I've been involved in community groups where you pursue a lot of projects, a lot of events, and that's great. Clearly, that's part of your ambit. But I think when you're talking about people's training budgets and their marketing budgets, it's about to provide professional development. The sort that you talked about, Councillor Ward, is really, really excellent. It's a really sharp sort of focus. Imagine if you're a business owner, you can sort of hopefully justify that sort of thing. And the ticket prices actually been relatively attractive. Now, some of these things are into the hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day,
$800
thousands
for a
of
day
dollars.
normally.
I don't know quite how you manage that, but if you can keep that up, that's certainly very appealing.
We managed it from your funding.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You
so-
pay for us.
So,
Yes, thank
well done,
you.
making
You
that
pay
case
for
to
us,
be able
we
to
organise.
tune up your own business like that is really good, so.
We just have a quick question from Mayor Gordon.
Sorry, this was on the minister's call, so apologies for listening, just been over a bit longer. Just Councillor Ward's point, what is that exactly, just so I'm clear?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor Ward, but she would just like effectively a conversation to be had at ESC if there is anything that they might be able to do to assist with retail. Is that summarised version of what you're wanting to, not a direct necessary focus of it, but a conversation as to how they might be able to assist?
Yeah, thank you.
Was there any other feedback on the statement of intent? Okay, I'll hold that as they're quite content with the direction of travel, so thank you for that.
Intent. Thank you.
All right, were there any last minute questions before we go to the motion? There appears to be none. So we've got a motion on the table. Is someone prepared to move? Councillor Ward, second. Councillor McLaren. Councillor Ward.
Thank you. Once again, Heather, a great effort on behalf of our community to you and your small team. We really, really appreciate everything you do and the enthusiasm and the functions that you hold and everything like that, the good networking that happens throughout the community. It's really important that we keep everybody together and you're really the linchpin that sort of pulls us all together and keeps us motivated and going and talking to people, and really appreciate the work you do, so thanks so much.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor McLaren. Any further speakers to the report? There appears to be none. So I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much for your report.
Thanks for your time again. And please do come along and encourage your people in your wards to come along. They get fed, they get watered, all for $195. It's outstanding. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now I've got 5.26 monthly financial reports for Te Kohaka. Morning, stranger.
Yeah, thankfully.
I'm not sure about the wrong end of the table.
Wrong end of the stick.
Right,
The floor is yours.
the floor is simple, really. And that is that you have them in front of you, and I hope you've all read them. And happy to take any questions. We'd like to thank the council for the last 6 months and the contributions that have been made, and we're trying to manage things as best we can. As you are well aware, public funding is just not even available at the moment. We've had some small grants and things coming in, but not any of the substantial projecting grants that we've expected along the way, which has made life very difficult for us. And as you'll see by the financials, of course, the fire hasn't helped us with where we're heading. In saying that, there's a positive life. I'd like to introduce you to Kelly Patterson, who's the manager of the trust, and Kelly's been there now for 12 months, getting things in order. So there's been a bit of quite a lot of change within the trust, and there's quite a lot to come. So when we go into that statement of intent, we'll have a look at that. But as far as the financials go, it's really as simple as that. There's no public funding out there. We're in negotiations with Ngāi Tahu at the moment about funding, which is all looking very positive, is my understanding. Nothing official as yet, but all looking okay. So as they are, as you see them in here, is exactly how they are, and just happy to take any questions on them, really.
Thank you for that. Any questions of the report? Oh, Councillor Ward, Councillor Fulton.
Well, actually, that was my question. Where are you at with the discussions with Ngāi Tahu requesting further considerations of contributions to the trust? And I understand that you're in talks with them at the moment, is that correct? And that hopefully you'll get some positive feedback from that.
Yeah, I can't elaborate on the talks at the present time until such time as we've got pen on paper is the truth. So I'd just rather keep it at that we are hopefully nearly there.
Thank you.
Councillor Fulton.
Thank you. And Neville, I recall in previous meetings that we're making painstaking sort of progress or efforts to try and enable some housing on some of your reserve land. Is it the beach reserve land? Is it Al Blackie talked about? Is it the on that property, isn't it? To have release some of that land as an income stream. Am I?
I just wonder whether that's better held for
the
another statement of intent, in the respect that that once that's explained in the statement of intent, then it
I'm happy to
might explain where the financials
come back to that as a revenue streams.
Yeah.
And thank you. And one of the reasons of heading down that line is that I see, for instance, that there's a mention of commercial concessions on the land again, and you might want to come back to that later about what the income streams, and government's talked a lot about having commercial concessions on, say, dock estate land or public land, and opportunities we may be able to release. Can we come back to that sort of subject?
Yeah, well, this intent's the 6 months previous as opposed to where we're heading. So
we'll table those questions for you.
Can do.
Any further questions on the financial position? There appear to be none. Right, we've got a recommendation on the table. Is in Councillor Ward. Anyone willing to second? Councillor Bartle. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for your support during this difficult time and the positive work that you're doing to take this trust further forward. And Kelly, thank you for the work that you do. You've got a small team, you're holding it together, you're doing a great job. So keep up the great work. So thank you.
Councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you for the hard work you're all doing. You've been through a pretty tough window. No one sort of would want to be in the position of running an organisation that's had to face some of the challenges that you've faced of late. So, I know there's questions around how this is sustainable moving forward and how that's managed, but I think there's too much up in the air to know the certain outcome for that yet. Clearly you're working in a good direction, and at the moment it's looking a lot better than it was. So well done, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Any further speakers of the report? I won't hold it up because I think the statement of intent is the key conversation to have today. So I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to 5.3, statement of intent. Potentially you might want to take the opportunity to answer Councillor Fulton's questions now.
I'm pretty well aware that one of the major changes in the statement of intent, which talks about going from leasing sections to managing sections down at and there's a very good reason for that. All are well aware of the status of those sections, that there are now no impediments on them, and basically the trust with its partners can do what it wants with them, and probably the statement can do what it wants with them. What is that? What we want with them? The reason we couldn't lease them in the first instances was that there was a 9-year lease. And no one's going to go and build a house, you know, a couple of $300,000 on a section and pay $10,000 a year to lease that section for 9 years with no right renewal. Just in case you don't know, those leases will, and if they come to fruition, have written into them that you must remove all anything that's built on the land must be removable within 12 months of notification. And that's obviously because you're right by the sea, and there's complications around sea level rise and flooding and all of those things that are down there. So that's in the lease and has always been there. But quite frankly, there was just no way anyone was going to lease them unless it's someone that wanted a holiday home and had a few dollars that could plant that there and just have it for that purpose. So it's been a pretty trying time trying to make sure that we have some income and some sustainable income for the trust, which is exactly what it needs. I think you're all well aware that I'm running another trust, and I've made that sustainable for the last 20 years. I have that intention with this trust as well, is to make it sustainable where we can. There will always be, this one's a little different to the other one, but the idea is with those sections is to make them into some form of income. Is that possible? Don't know yet, and the reason we don't know is we don't know what. There are all sorts of options on the table, and that is, do we sell some of those sections? Do we lease them? Do you get a company and build them on them yourselves and take some risks there and do those? So all of those are on the table right at the moment, and we intend to head back to the gentleman that had them out on the market in the first place to talk to him about what are some really good ways of making sure that we've got those things covered before we even think about heading there. So hence, and the thing I'll sort of make clear about this statement of intent is that we may very well be back to during the year to change the statement of intent. It may happen because we're in a moving feast at the moment to try and make sure that we have sustainable for future years. We want to grow the trust to having staff. I mean, there's Kelly and there's Murray there at the present time, and our biodiversity officer come ranger is finishing on the 1st of April, so there will only be 2 people in that trust. So for the next 1 to 2 years, it is about maintenance, maintenance and maintenance. So if you're looking for projects within that trust, it is not going to happen. This budget and the go forward of the statement of intent is about maintaining what we have, and certainly the biggest part of that is the public facing of that, so that people can still use trails, still use within the trust, and we still make sure that whatever we've done is not wasted. So that's where we're at, and Karaki is the big, can we pull in the money for that to be able to help sustain what we're doing? And I mean, we know that there are people that are not keen on building on that land within this organisation, as well as those that are outside that are not keen on it. There are also people who are saying, come on, take the brakes off, let's get going, and let's put some houses up there, holiday houses, whatever they may be, and get you some income. You know, that's certainly the street I'm in, is let's make sure that we can get some things done down there and make sustainable income for this trust and take the burden off the ratepayer to make sure that the trust becomes sustainable in the future. That's really the guts of the statement of intent, but as I say, we will more than likely be back to you in the next, you know, sort of 6 months, 8 months to have a look and make sure that we're asking you to keep an eye on us while we go forward to try and make the change that we need to make sure the trust can work.
Thank you for that concise summary of the statement of intent. Any further questions? Councillor Doody?
Thank you very much for that comment there, it was well done. Just from the other thing, I just want your statement of intent. Volunteers, how are you managing to try and get some volunteers in to help with the workload?
I'll let Kelly answer.
That's one question.
That's it.
we are still in contact with school groups and getting them to help us with planting days. We do on odd occasions some education with that as well. So we still get groups reaching out, and where we can, we have them in. And then some businesses are still coming in and looking after their biota nodes too. So still the connections there with volunteers.
So the other question there is-
Corrections too, councillor Doody, also still, corrections are still a big part
That's what I
of
want
it.
to know, yeah.
No, it's still
So the other thing is insurance on these houses that you may be able to build on that piece of land. Are they going to be able to be insured? Does the housing have to be portable, or how are you going to work those pieces of land?
They're all the questions, councillor Doody, that we need answered before we can move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Powell.
Just a question around the statement of intent. It actually says for the year ending 30th of June 2029. So is it for the period ended June, or is it for the year ended 30th of June 2027?
Actually, I'm not quite sure why it's always said, it is for 2027, but it's just, I'm not quite sure why it says 2029, I didn't.
It should be 2027.
Sorry?
It should be 2027.
Yeah, I thought it was,
Thanks, that was it.
I think we could fix that. Any further questions? Cool. We've got a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Fulton. Thank you. Mayor Gordon.
Just to say, firstly, thank you, Neville, for yet again stepping up and providing leadership when it's needed, and we really appreciate the skill and expertise that you bring, as do the other trustees. It is appreciated because I know that there's been a number of challenges over the last certainly 12 months, if not actually for some time. Kelly, welcome to your new role. I know you've been there a little bit of time, but stepping up into the manager's role, that's really great. So appreciate what you're doing there too. From a council's perspective, we are very, well, I certainly am very supportive of what TKTT does. I think you do an amazing job down there managing an extensive resource, and one that I think is really critical to this district. And it's one where we do have a true partnership with mana whenua as settlers of the trust. In the next 12 months, I think we've already signalled that we would like to sort of talk about future governance arrangements, how things are structured, and we've certainly signalled as part of the governance review, and especially before we look to appoint a new trustee, we'd like to have a detailed discussion about what's the best fit and whether there's better arrangements that we could be considering to support this development further. So we won't have that discussion now, but that'll be something we asked our staff to certainly look at over the next period of time. But the statement of intent, I'm very comfortable with that, and as you say, setting back and getting into the delivery mode as opposed to new projects, I think that's a sensible way forward. I know you've put, and there has been a lot of work going with Ngā Tahu and Ngā Tuheriri, so thank you for that, and hopefully that there's been some, in those discussions, hopefully they'll yield a more positive outcome there. Certainly there is the trustees that add to that, and the Ngā Tuheriri trustees that are sitting there, I think, from what I hear, add real value in that partnership. So just want to thank you for your leadership. Obviously, we've also got another former councillor, and Councillor, and it's Habit actually, with Al Blackie, who's also had a great passion and interest there for many years, and formerly as chair. So thank you again for what you're doing. It's a no-brainer to support the statement of intent that's there, and let's see where we get to over the next period of time. And really all we're looking to do is, I don't go into that with a fixed opinion. It's actually about what's best for setting the trust up to succeed for the years to come.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Thank you, Neville, and Kelly. It's yeah, nice to have you along today here as well. Neville, you've managed to answer my questions before I even asked them, so that's a rare skill you have, and I think I appreciate the concise sort of overview that you've given us. Yeah. But no, sincerely, we do appreciate that the pointer to what might come in the year ahead. And I know there's some uncertainties there, but as far as this statement of intent, it's going to be a busy and active year, I think, and I appreciate the work that's been done at this point. Yeah, the trust does look somewhat of a sort of a working miracle when I just look about the points about managing $13.3 million worth of assets, primarily in land and improvements, against your current cash and liabilities and everything. What sort of organisation anywhere in New Zealand has that kind of uphill struggle, but yet you do manage it, and you are still working with us in the strategic intent and making some progress too. Somewhat against the odds at face value, but nonetheless you are really doing well, and I'm heartened by that, and I think we're in good hands. So well done, and endorse the Mayor's comments, and look forward to hearing more from the Trust as the year goes on. So I'm happy to support the draft statement of intent. Thank you.
Any further speakers to the report? No. Just briefly from me, thank you very much. Echoing the comments that it's been a challenging time, but fully endorse I suppose the open scope to what could be the future, and supporting you through that journey as much as we can. So thank you very much for your hard work. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. Right, item 5.4, review of Audit New Zealand's recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this report is to update the committee on the status of implementing audit recommendations from previous audits. I'll take the report as read and ask for any questions.
Any questions on the report? There appear to be none. Mayor Gordon, I believe this may have been a report that you requested if you had a time to review it.
Sorry, what was that?
In terms of the audit recommendations, did you have any specific questions regarding the operational matters which haven't quite been addressed yet?
I don't.
No.
All requests.
That's all right. We can just.
Sorry, yes. Sorry, I was just focusing on something else. So
apologies.
That was just really to, yeah, it was just to make sure that we were on track. That was also. Yeah, sorry, pardon me. I was focused on something else just with this. No, I'm comfortable with that. I've read that.
Perfect. Right, and there appears to be broad comfort across the committee. Oh, question? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you. But one of my questions, sorry, might be a bit cursory on this, was in the summary, the 4 recommendations relating to the register of interest for elected members and the management teams. This is always potentially a little thorn in our sides as self-interested elected members. So is there anything that actually affects the functioning of how we ourselves actually disclose a register of interest, how it actually is publicised, whatnot? What is this about?
The recommendations were more about us following how that needed to be presented to the public. So partly that was making sure that an up-to-date copy of the register is available on the website, and it was also had another item where we had to make it explicit whether that interest was a pecuniary interest or not. So we've changed the format, so that's more obvious. and we think we've covered the, implemented the recommendations by doing those things.
This relates to this is perhaps more of a management exercise, but the onus is on us to self-declare to the degree of accuracy we think it warrants. So has anything changed for auditing purposes? If someone came to us externally and said that's not accurate, then where does the liability sit, and how does it affect the council's auditing processes if we're declaring, well, or not declaring?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Councillor?
We're often told when we fill out the paperwork,
Yep.
it said that the council will not be responsible for the accuracy of the information, and that the onus is on us to declare it as fully in. But if it's found externally that it wasn't, as you know, the information wasn't fully furnished as accurate as it could be, then what liability does that put on the council? Is there no liability? We just fill in this form and submit it, and it's published, and that's the end of the story.
I mean, the key purpose is to disclose and identify all of those interests. As well as that, we'll also look at publicly available searches as well, just to check that what's being disclosed is actually complete as well. So there's a level of checks that we do behind the scenes. I suppose in terms of liability, it's really about disclosure, so it's not actually about saying that there's anything that's been done incorrectly as such. It's just making sure completeness of the actual register itself. Trying to recall any
It's
legislation.
more important that the register is completed and submitted and publicised than.
Oh no, it's about it's about declaring so you can manage those conflicts of interest. So ultimately, it's the actions that you take in terms of not being involved in a decision, which say you would have a pecuniary interest or a suspected conflict of interest in a particular decision that may affect you. I'm just using examples, hypothetical examples. The actual management of that interest itself is probably the key, most fundamental part of it. But the disclosure is important too, to make sure that everyone is aware of them and that we can put those management pieces in place.
Councillor Ward?
Just a quick question. Can you definitely confirm that Datascape will be live on the 1st of July this year?
We have that target, and we have to meet that target because other platform won't be available. So pretty much.
So you're quite confident?
I'm confident we'll be going live. Yeah.
Cool.
Any further questions? There appear to be none. Do we have a mover for the report? Councillor Ward, do we have a seconder? Councillor Bartle? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Paul, and your finance team for everything that you do for us. You do an amazing job. We really, really appreciate it. And keep up the good work, and fingers crossed that Datascape will be live on 1st of July.
Yeah.
Councillor Bartle.
Thank you. Nothing really to add. I think the report's pretty self-explanatory.
All right. Thank you very much for the report. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Now moving on to 5.5, corporate risks update. Morning.
Good morning. I'm going to assume that the report has been read. Just to highlight some points, we've had some changes to a couple of the risks in the last 6 months since last presented to the committee. One was around our ERP upgrade and also around the central and local government reform that's currently happening. I think I might also just mention that obviously since the time of writing this report, we've seen some change in our economic environment, particularly around the conflict that's going on in the Middle East and the effect that we are now seeing. Petrol prices, in fact, have increased rather than we expected them to. So there are obviously some things since last being written that have changed in that space.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the report? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wondered whether in the Waimakariri outlook we have pause for thought. I realise the report it is what it is at the time, but it says these indicators point to a generally positive economic base with a few emerging areas to monitor. Well, I just wonder whether there's an opportunity to take stock of that, because clearly the economic outlook does not look sort of, certainly very, very turbulent across all sort of economic indicators. I don't know quite how we deal with things in the present time. We accept that report, but it doesn't seem to reflect the reality. Do you have any comment on that?
I think the comment refers to some information we've got from Infometrics. Is it we received in February? Is it the end of December? I think it's probably worded in a way that it's saying it's slightly more positive than where we were, possibly a direction of travel in terms of it turning rather than it probably. I think the report overemphasises it in a way. But I think we're just trying to say that it's slightly turned more than anything based on the information that we're receiving from Infometrics. Perhaps we could look at the wording of that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Doody.
Thank you. Thanks very much for that report. Just like Councillor next door, Bill Poulton, very concerned about going forward and, you know, with petrol prices and things like that going up, different things hiking. What have you got in plan for the staff to perhaps be able to manage having a full complement around the table, around in the office, or are you looking at doing a little bit more online?
I don't know that I can necessarily answer that question, but I think what I will say is that management team and myself, when we have these conversations, will probably need to look more in depth at this and what that risk looks like to us across the organisation as a whole with what's going on. I might leave you to speak to that, Chris.
I think the first thing to say is we're well aware of the risk associated with it. There was a roundtable at management team yesterday. Unfortunately, I was not part of it, so I've not had a chance to catch up on the outcomes of what's come out of that. But from what I've seen and the traffic from the meeting is very much looking at each area, understanding what our fuel use is, what our impacts are on people and our own use, and looking at an action plan to report back to management next week. So we are across it and just making sure that we're not overreacting, but also, you know, dealing with it in a way that is balanced and appropriate to where we are at the moment.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because there is a real concern unknown.
Thank you. Sorry, jumping back in on that point. I know it's looking ahead, but perhaps to you, Chris, if I may, through you, Mr. Chair, is transport and logistics itself worthy of being an indicator looking ahead? You know, our cost of doing business, transport being a key one, because with our staff, our fleet on the road, the cost of getting from A to B and doing these considerations.
I think immediately there's going to be some form of change in risk profile. I think, keep in mind, these corporate risk registers done at a point in time towards the end of February. So we're talking 17 days ago, and a lot's changed in a very short space of time. But yes, there's certainly risk there, particularly arising from bitumen prices, whether it's inflationary, whether it's transport sectors. It's broader than that. You look at, I think Treasury was saying worst case scenario is around about a 3.7% inflationary rise. So we need to look at inflation quite significantly across what we're able to do.
Yes. Thank you. Councillor Ward.
Is it a great advantage that our CEO did the privilege of all our vehicles are hybrid, and therefore they'll be using the electric as opposed to petrol as a preference in these circumstances? Is that why we did this?
Not all are hybrids. There are some PHEVs. There are also some diesel petrol vehicles as well. So there's a selection of them that are in that place. But our stock take around vehicles and fuel use is actually part of this work that I was referring to earlier. And our fleet team have been asked to look at that this week as well.
Any further questions? There appears to be none. I'll ask for a mover for the report. Councillor Fulton, seconded Councillor Doody. Councillor Fulton.
Thanks, Mr Chair. I think this explains economics 101 globally, doesn't it? How quickly things can change. We've got a snapshot of yesterday when sitting here facing quite a sort of uncertain tomorrow, as often happens. And I shouldn't actually say that lightly, because this is a serious corporate risk for our organisation, and it's going to be the risk that's sort of imposed on our community, the cost of living, cost of doing business and interacting, as a business and as individuals out there, consumers. So there's some serious challenges there. I like in the questions and answers that we're already having management team meetings, sort of discussing the cost of doing business and because it will be a difficult period, regardless of whether the planes are flying in the Middle East or not. I think the impacts will reverberate for some time. And as far as actually capturing our more day-to-day risks, and it's always a good summary, and always I think it's well presented. So thank you to the team. And with the hesitation of what's to come, I'll still endorse this report and commend it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fulton. Councillor Doody.
Thank you very much. Really, I'll just say the same as what the mover said, and it is worrying times about but we've got to work with what there is at the moment and just take through. I mean, when you think about COVID, how we managed to get through with COVID, and that was particularly difficult. So we've already had a taste of tightness and how to get on, how still to keep our business going. So just fingers crossed that's how it's going to be.
Thank you very much. Mayor Gordon.
Just to say thank you for the report. As always, appreciate that, but I guess the point of the other matter is that we can't panic or worry. This is a global situation that we need to be just calm and careful. I've listened carefully to what the government's been saying, and in fact, I'm on a call this morning with the minister who has responsibility for energy and had just been overseas in discussions, I think in Japan, I believe, or Korea, I think it was, talking about, and that's where our supply of fuel comes from, what I've heard. He's assuring us at the moment that supply is there. The important thing for our community is don't go out and panic buy. This people filling jerry cans and doing things like that, which we're hearing, is just, at the end of the day, creating a situation that really is potentially depriving those at various times when they may need it. We've been through situations before. We know how to manage these. I'm not saying that there aren't risks on the horizon, because there surely is, but there are things that we will work through together calmly, because the last thing we want is our community panicked to go into a situation where outcomes aren't ideal. The price of fuel and those matters are certainly of concern in how they're tracking presently, but they're matters that are outside our direct control. Here as a council, around our business, and thank you to the management team for reflecting on this, is around how we manage our supply chains. There's a whole range of things that petrol is definitely part of, and we'll just have to manage that carefully. If there's budgetary considerations, there are other things that we'll have to deal with at those times, or it may be delaying some things until prices effectively come back. They're all things that the team will reflect on. We're on the early stages of this. From what I was listening to the Minister's comments last night, Minister of Finance, we're not at panic stations yet, and hopefully we don't get there. Hopefully what President Trump says is correct, that this will be a short-lived conflict, but in the merits of the conflict and otherwise, but a proper view on that. But just to say that as a district here, the things that we can control, I believe, are being well considered by our management team, just as we've done with other major events. This is not our first rodeo, and I'm sure we'll do our best in those circumstances. There was a Chair Dion Swiggs raised this morning about perhaps the government thinking and working on a plan for greater encouragement of public transport. And I think that's a fair point around that, whether there is, during these times, for people to consider that and to make sure that the supply chain remains there for public transport if in the end further stages happen. So there are things that the Minister said he would look into and was welcoming of advice from the regional sector and local government. So, but I know it's digressed a little from your report, but in what you said, Kerry, and it led to a few points there, but they're very real and things that we've got to make sure we've got a good handle on, but also that we take that calmly and measured as is what this council always does.
Thank you. Any further speakers? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to 5.6, non-financial performance measures.
Morning, councillors. I'll take the report as read. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions on the report? Councillor McLaren?
Straight in. Okay, thank you. Really good report. Page 89 of our notes, which is page 3 of your report, there's two issues there, so a question for each. One is around the percentage of water loss, and the second is the event that wasn't picked up. So in relation to the water loss, the target is 22%, and it went up to 24%. So I really want to understand better why water is being lost. Do we have plans to reduce that target? Because losing a fifth of the abstracted water, let alone a quarter of it, really does seem careless and inconsistent with the principles of Te Mana Te Wai, being good custodians of Wai and its journey to the ocean. Then with the report to the Water Services Unit in relation to the water loss. So I just wondered why that actually occurred. So does a call to the water unit clearly direct the caller to the correct place that it should have been reported? And I understand from the report it was a call outside normal office hours, so therefore it wasn't responded to until office hours. Is it clear to someone who calls, which is intuitive to call the water unit if you've got a water outage, that at that time it's the wrong place to call? They should report it somewhere else if they need urgent action. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Of course, obviously I can't answer those directly. I'm just bringing this report to you. But the question that all calls do come to customer services here. I mean, we can investigate that further. But I mean, all the information I have is that it was directed to the wrong unit. Yeah, but I can get that information.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And on the actual loss.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the report. Just a question which you may not be able to answer, re the rubbish quantities. It's fascinating to see that the average per capita is around 250 kgs. Fascinating is probably the wrong word. That's incredibly high when you think about it. But how is that trending? Is there any numbers that you've seen, or is like over the last 5 years, are we slowly getting better or slowly getting worse?
Well, Kitty does provide an attachment to that, which I can send to you. So that's a 10-year scale which we have to reduce, and her report is very clear on where we are tracking. I think it is 10-year report, so I can send you that attachment. But yeah.
Thank you. That'd be great.
Councillor Fulton.
Just a question on some of our performance measures. Again, this may be just one to note, perhaps at a management level, but the road resealing targets. I noticed that there's a mention there that with increased sealing rates as part of the new contract, it's unlikely that the 5% target will be met. It's interesting that this is we are a growth council, we're expanding. Just wonder whether we note that as a risk if we're not quite meeting that sealing target as with new sealing, because we will have people who are who are demanding, I suppose, that their existing roads be sealed, for instance. Then you have new communities come on stream, and so where's the prioritisation, and how do we keep up with our sealing targets? So,
I think that's a question for a revenue engineer. I don't think I've got one in here.
yeah, I suppose it's the quid pro quo of existing communities that may have been long awaiting sealing, or would love it, you know, even if they have to pay for it themselves, and then they see sealing coming on stream elsewhere, and the overall target not being met. So, yeah. And I suppose a second question, if I may, was similar vein, was the pension and housing. I can see. It seems again there's a tension there based on the reasoning for meeting or not meeting the pension and housing target. One of the tensions seems to be that we've got higher standards for healthy homes, but at the same time that seems to be infecting the availability of some of these units to the degree that we want. So I just wasn't quite aware why we necessarily have that tension, you know, between refurbishing a home to get it to the standard. That seems to mean that's to the detriment of homes being available as they should be. Is that right?
We also had the added issue there with the asbestos, of course, as well, which has all been resolved now, but that certainly did affect the occupancy rates as well, which is something we hadn't planned for last year.
Yeah, I think we go through cycles of program maintenance and upgrades of the units, and this is one of those periods where we've been through quite a significant amount of upgrade, which has of course we have to vacate the homes to do the upgrade. So I think we would hope to see better statistics going forward once all of those improvements.
My question wasn't negating the need for healthier homes. I suppose underlying, I'm saying that those healthy home standards have been with us for some years and years and years. So how do we accommodate that into our building program so that we actually keep up to speed with?
It's also something I think that the Mayor did raise at our budget day this year, that we are behind in our maintenance on the property. So it is something that property are fully behind now, yes.
Just, sorry, Mr. Chair, just noting some of the very good questions that have come out on the specific KPIs. Of course, Helene's the collator of information rather than the technical expert on water or roading. But I think what might be helpful in future iterations of this report is if we had a member of our UNR and our CNR departments here so that they can answer those questions for you, because those are the things that you're probably most interested in rather than the cover report. Look, we'll go back and find the answers to those specific questions that you've got, but in the future iterations of this quarterly report, we might see if we can have some of our UNR and CNR colleagues here to answer those technical questions as well.
Just on that, do sections of this report get distributed to the appropriate committees, or is it only held at Audit and Risk?
I'm not sure that they get distributed to other committees. It's primarily the target audience is this committee, but all councillors, of course, will have access to the report.
Yeah. And sorry, supplementary to that, of the measures which we haven't actually been able to achieve so far this year, how many of them are statutory requirement and how many of them are actually set internally by the council?
Oh, I'd have to, the mandatory ones are indicated in the extract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get back to you with that on the actual numbers, but yeah, we can certainly build that in future.
That's a good question. We can actually have a little table in there that reflects that if you'd like.
Yeah.
Do you mean statutory timeframe or statutory required to have the measure there?
Required to have the measure there. Yeah.
Shall we just clarify, please?
Pardon?
What did you just say, clarify?
So quite a lot of these measurements, some of them are set internally by the council, some of them are actually statutorily set. We have to achieve these to be fulfilling our contract with our residents. And I was just seeking further clarification on the ones that we're not hitting, how many of them are internally set versus how many of them are statutorily set. Yeah. All good. Any further questions? It appear to be none. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a mover? Councillor Fulton, seconded Councillor Doody. Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do appreciate the lead of the chair and colleagues, and suggestion that also that we should bring back some of these items for more detailed analysis in the KPIs from the relevant staff members. There are some good areas for discussion there. But as far as the cover report goes, Helene and the team, as ever, very diligently put together, and it gives us a good overall assessment of how we're tracking along. So happy to commend this to Council.
Thank you. Councillor Doody.
Yes, likewise, I do too. And I just appreciate that with the pensioner houses, that a lot of them have been substandard for quite some time, and they do need to go up to the healthy standard, home standard, and that's just a requirement that we must achieve. But thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Appear to be none. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to 5.7, Cyber Security Status Report. Morning.
Morning, everyone. Just before I start, I'd like to introduce Owen Payne. Owen is our cyber security analyst and is one of the main drivers in ensuring that we are keeping ourselves safe from the cyber threats that we actually have, and is co-author of the report that's been tabled. In terms of the report that's been tabled, this will give you hopefully some confidence that we are putting the appropriate safeguards in place to keep us safe. We should also note that we use a framework called SAM for Compliance to do that assessment, and that we're performing well ahead of most other New Zealand councils when we come to that. The interesting thing as well is probably since the last time we spoke, there's been an increase in the number of councils who are actually subscribing to this framework now. So it's becoming a stronger framework in terms of reflecting how well we're doing. Before we ask any questions, I'll take your advice, Mr. Chair. This is the first time we've been in front of the Audit Committee since the council's been newly formed. There are some new members on this, and I thought it might be an opportunity for Owen to briefly talk about the SAM for Compliance framework, because the report is fully based on that. So.
Yep. So Algim several years ago noticed that there was a gap in the market for some guidance for the local councils. There's several international kind of standards that provide guidance on how you secure organisations. None of them were targeted specifically at the local councils. So they worked with a gentleman called Tony Krzyzewski. It hasn't got any vowels in it, so I can never pronounce it properly, sorry. But so he's a representative of an organisation called the Centre for Internet Security. He helps formulate some of the items on that framework, and he's based in New Zealand. Him and his wife got together and have produced a framework at the time that they've now expanded upon, and a tool set in the back of it that was targeted specifically at the time at Algim, but since then has gone a bit wider. The tool set allows you to see the guidance, see the frameworks, and actually report on it as well. So for the small amount that we pay every year, we get the framework, the tool set, the reporting, and the ability to talk to Tony and his wife and get some guidance around what we need with that. It started out small. It's now progressing to, like Andy mentioned, several more councils. And the score for most of those councils, they started out low, but we're seeing that the general kind of baseline score improve as well as the councils start to improve their cybersecurity as well. We've been lucky in that we've had a focus on cybersecurity by having a staff member targeted it. Not many councils have that. More of them are, but more of them are now starting to look at this and improve things. We came ahead of the game because of that, and we've had that focus on cybersecurity, so we've always slightly been ahead of the game.
Can I just add, just so you understand, the factors that are assessed in this, there's about 351 different factors that we assess ourselves against, and not all of them are technology based. Some of them are about how we manage our relationships with vendors, how we assess the clauses within contracts. So it's a very, very wide framework, and it just doesn't focus specifically on the technology that we put in place to try and protect us. It's taking a wider view of the organisation and how we're actually managing our environment. And so it's on everybody. It's not just IT's responsibility to try and safeguard the organisation through the management of some of these non-technical factors as well. So, look, we're happy to answer any questions that you have about the report. Thank you.
Any questions for the report? Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wonder what, within the policies and guidelines, what is the threshold at which, if there had been a cybersecurity incident or a threat, would you come to us as councillors and actually sort of disclose that, as against dealing with it internally, and and your very skilled team, say if there had been a potential hack or some sort of breach of personal information or something, whatever the incident was. Do you have a threshold, or sort of for internal management versus public disclosure? How do you set that mark?
It's hard to identify a specific threshold. What we tend to do is look at the impact the incident's having on the organisation. And there is an escalation process. Usually Owen, because he's keeping an eye on these things, will say these things first. He'll escalate that to me. I'll then make a decision about whether I can deal with that myself, or whether I need to escalate that to the management team. The management team have then got the responsibility of managing that across the organisation, or escalating it to you as the council members. But it's really difficult to pinpoint a threshold. It's mainly
just
based
ask,
on
in the event you hear so much about organisations having to make that decision, whether they publicly disclose and then sort of out themselves as being compromised, or whether they...
We do have an incident management plan in place, and we did provide in the previous council, the management team, some training around communication for that specific incident, to make that decision. So we had a bit of role playing from a partner organisation, some training for them around that. But yes, at the time, it needs to be a decision based upon the impact and the scale of the threat and the impact of the attack.
Councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Assuming you're allowed to talk about this in an open forum, I'm curious to know, has there been any major breaches, or what are the number of major attacks, and have any been serious enough to be at the very serious level?
For the council specifically?
Yeah, against the council.
We've been very lucky. We've had very minor breaches that have been contained. Our tool set has been able to contain most of what we've had. We've had, I think it was a couple of years ago, one that took us down for a couple of hours for a portion of the workstations. But we managed to bring that back up again and control that and isolate that. So we've been very lucky. Our tool set and our staff have been in place and trained to do that.
That's great.
Any further questions? Just before Councillor Ward moves, I just had a quick question. Are we planning on having an independent audit at any time in the future? I just note that we had one back in 2021.
Yes, well, there was supposed to be one last year. Unfortunately, there was some ill health that impacted that. We've just had our penetration test.
Yep.
We have annual penetration tests. We have government doing audit around our IT system, which includes some of our security controls as well. And we also like to bring in Tony, who's part of the Algrim compliance framework, to actually look at our progress and true us up on that. We've booked that for the second half of this year.
Okay.
And it's based upon his availability, because he's the single point that can do those audits.
Okay. No, that's cool.
Yeah, sorry, just for information, a penetration test is where we get an external company to try and attack us from the outside and see if they can find any weaknesses in our defences. But we also bring them inside and ask them to see if they got inside, what can you actually see and what could you actually do. So it helps us identify weaknesses that we need to focus on and strengthen. So it's better that it's done that way than for real.
Cool. All right. No further questions. Councillor Ward's prepared to move. Anyone prepared to second? Councillor Bartle. Councillor Ward.
Phew. Thank you. Well, I know that we're well protected, and very grateful that the work that you do to keep us safe and to keep the baddies away from us. Thanks to all your team for the work that you do. We really, really appreciate you keeping us safe.
Thank you.
Councillor Bartle.
Yes, thank you for all your hard work and keep it up. Sounds great. Being obviously new to council, I don't know the history and the background, and I've often wondered how vulnerable that an organisation this size is in the real world, because I know there's some certain range effects out there. So it's good news. You're doing well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further speakers? Appears to be none. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to portfolio updates, starting off with 6.1 audit and risk and annual/long-term plans. Councillor Ward.
Thank you. The annual plan consultation will commence on Friday the 20th of March for 1 month to the 20th of April. 5 drop-in events will be held around the district to seek feedback on and provide information to the community. The drop-ins are as follows. On the 19th of March, Rangiora at the Council Chambers 5 to 7 p.m. 25th of March at Kaipoi, Ruatanawha, Kaipoi Civic Centre 5 to 7. 8th of April, Woodend Community Centre 5 till 7. 11th of April, Oxford A&P Show all day. 15th of April, Pegasus Community Kapa 10 till 12. Elected members are encouraged to attend these events to hear feedback from the community on the annual plan. External audit of the annual report. Planning for the audit is underway. Initial meetings between staff and the auditors have been held to update the auditors on key risks, issues and matters of significance. Further meetings are scheduled with the CE Mayor and portfolio holder. Our appointed auditor, Derek Olson, will address the next Audit and Risk Committee meeting to present the relevant planning letters. We're also working with Audit New Zealand on the timing of the audit of the long-term plan as part of project planning for the long-term plan. Our risk management, an update of the corporate risks in consideration of our cybersecurity risk was today, just now discussed, and since the time of preparing this report, the war in Iran has escalated considerably. Staff are cognizant of risks to fuel supply and inflationary risks arising from the conflict. Staff continue to monitor economic commentary to inform our risk register and planning. Any questions?
Any questions to the report? Appears to be none. Thank you very much, Councillor Ward.
You're welcome.
Communications. Councillor Powell.
Thanks. No friend Shona over here. Hi, Brent. So communications. There was a question raised last week around the local government reforms web page and how many visits that had. That's up to 843 since it started. There's 2 live consultations at the moment. The draft youth action plan that opened on the 18th of February. There's 311 aware, 62 informed and 3 engaged. And the Woodend Pegasus Area Strategy Review, which opened on the 5th of March with 104 aware, 18 informed and 18 engaged. So the Do You Know campaign is continuing. Some digital ads out at the moment. Media queries, there was 33 in February, March so far as 14, and the topics range from things like rural hospitals, development levies, rates capping, local waterways, homelessness, and the Woodend Pegasus Area Strategy. So, as Councillor Ward said, the draft annual plan consultation launches later this week. You will have received an email with the Facebook tiles for each event, so please share them around your networks. Social media, their content strategy is using edutainment and short video content, which seems to be working. So they've had 113,000 viewers in the last month. The aim is to make council stories interesting, to get that attention. So there was a recent video about detours, which is actually seen over 30,000 times. So that's sort of saying something, because usually, yeah, videos are, things around detours are not that exciting unless you actually travel that road. So to get 30,000 views, that's about it. I'll email it around so you've got the figures there.
Thank you very much. Any questions of the report? Councillor Fulton?
Yes, I just had one. I've just been mulling with Councillor Ward's presentation about annual plan consultation and our communication. We've had quite a bit of feedback from our Oxford Ahoka Community Board about this drop-in at the Oxford Show and some of our other public events. I think our community board is very keen to have their own distinct identity and communication planning and support. It comes back very, very strongly every meeting I go to. And I think I'm just reflecting on that. And this is an example, Oxford Show. We've got a lot of contested, crowded space under that council umbrella. Community board members are there. I think sometimes they feel that they are having to answer to council questions and to communicate on behalf of council, because certainly in Oxford, Ahoka, we often combine our space with community board. So I just wondered whether there was some consideration there through Mr. Chair as to how we communicate our community board activities and make them distinct from council, because community board members should not have to answer to rate rise questions or questions about the cost of roading or footpaths or something, or community projects. That's for council. So, yeah, it's a strange question, but I think it needs to be noted that there's some communications strategy in there that needs to be refined.
It's an interesting point you've actually raised, because it is one that has actually occurred to me, because I know that there's also more demands going on that space to reach the public, because it's a good way to reach the public. E.g., I know it was talked about as part of the welcoming communities, whether they could dovetail in there. So it becomes quite a crowded space, as you say, and the community board sort of started this, and then, yeah, so perhaps it is something.
I can take that away, I think. It's sensible object to Simon, Alistair.
I just wonder whether the community board there's another secondary forum or outlet for them, whether that's another community drop-in at the service centre or something else in the same week or on the same day. They really are asking for a more distinct identity, the way that they're communicating their activities to the public.
I actually would concur with this, that the community board do a huge role in their communities, and they need to be heard a bit more as well. So, and to see face to face, it's important.
Yeah, good point. No further questions. We'll move on to customer services. Councillor Doody.
Thank you. Well, I do apologise. I can't get into my computer, so I've just had to. I still can't get into it. My fault. But anyway, that's fine. I'll just wing it like I'm quite good at doing. Sorry. Don't worry about me. I just would like to just say thank you very much to Chris and Marie for the work that they do. It was very nice meeting with them the other day and having coffee and having a chat. It was very helpful, because this is a new role for me, totally, because I'm usually doing with roading or green space, so this is a completely new role for me to get my head around, and I appreciate that, to understand my role. And I would just like to say about the Eldon that Waimakariri District Council came fifth in New Zealand, and that is really a high ranking, and to be very proud of it. So our team is really working very hard at what they're doing, and I just think they need that recognition to be known that they are very upcoming and an upmarket team, and we're very proud of the achievement. Sorry? Sixth. Oh, it says fifth here. Well, should we just do, should we do 5.5?
We'll do 5 next time.
Okay, right.
It's a prediction.
No, very good. So I really much appreciate the work they're doing. It's now I'd just like to say about the Kapoi Service Centre that I had a person say to me the other day about how impressed they were with that service centre and the role that they would do. This particular person, it happened to be my daughter actually, had to go in there and do a meeting with a certain person, and she said the staff were very vigilant and very make sure that everything was safe for her, and she was blown away by the amount of effort that's put in by that staff. So I just really would like them to commend. She said she was really very impressed indeed. The other thing also, she'd never been into the Kapoi Service Centre before, and she was blown away with just that whole building, really impressed with it. So that's another thing to see. In the Rangiora Service Centre, you know, they do a wonderful job, and I'm so very impressed with the whole team there. They're outstanding, and we're very, very fortunate. Now, yesterday I was at the cemetery doing my little thing with flowers, and there was a couple of Wellington people came in, and they were wandering around and just trying to find out where a certain grave was, and I just said to them, are you having trouble? And they said, yes, we can't find it. We looked on the board, there was no names, and wandering around, and in the end I said, look, I didn't have my phone with me. I said, look, can I borrow your phone? I'll just ring customer services. And they said, well, actually, there's no one there that's anything to do with the cemetery at the moment, but we'll put you onto somebody that will help. Well, blow me down. We had a wonderful response. And if you've been to that Rangiora cemetery, it's quite large, and it's not really, and a lot of the headstones are flat on the ground, so you're not looking for a particular type of headstone. Well, we walked round and round, and I said to the parent, can you just give us a guidance of where this particular place is? And so, right, go down to the square with his turn left, down so far, and then there's an RC area there, and we went and we found the grave that we wanted, which was, it had no headstone, unfortunately. But they were absolutely so impressed with the level of service by this team, and I just would like that to be passed on, because it was over and above their core of duty, because we were just walking around the cemetery. So, and the two Wellington people were really grateful to have had, and actually found it. So that's my thing there, so just thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you for that. Any questions of the report? Appear to be none. 6.4, procurement, efficiencies and savings. Councillor Bartle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The work plan for procurement for this year is a significant plan focusing on key activities, including procurement, support, training, leveraging all of government contracts, a review of procurement strategy and contract management support. So there's a lot of detail in there, and the key staff member involved, he showed me the list that he had planned. I looked at it and I thought, in the next year, that's going to be, he's going to work hard. So there's a lot, you can appreciate all the detail of going through, talking to the different groups and but looking at raising procurement and savings up the ladder of focus on, and it's like cultural change, if you like, where you change the focus to a higher priority for what we can do in efficiency, which is the goal, obviously. Training of staff. Staff have received recent training on our procurement policy. The focus on changes to the policy managing conflicts of interest and what to do when procuring IT solutions. Whitiora procurement staff have met with Whitiora staff recently on social procurement. This was a positive interaction meeting looking for areas commonly between both parties. So I suppose working together to try and find out successful solutions. And so it's a new portfolio, it's a new, plan, if you like, and there's a lot of work to be done in that area, but it is moving on at a good pace, considering that it's only been there 7 months, 8 months, maybe middle of last year or something, isn't it? Yeah. So to come into an organisation and actually start initiating and putting all this in place, it's a big job. And so, yeah, I take my hat off to him. I think he's doing amazing job with your support too, Chris. So, yeah, that's pretty much where it's at. Any questions?
Councillor Fulton.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I just had some feedback by way of example at the Mayoral Task Force for Jobs from a local business, happened to be in Kaipua. He had bid for some council work, hadn't got the job, had a complaint or a concern about our procurement, bid criteria, the waiting for local businesses and all that sort of thing. I just wondered what the appropriate forum is for that. We can take some advice when people come to us and say, look, hey, because I realise this is a commercial process and there are criteria and weightings for local business versus value for money, efficiencies. So how do we feed that back into the system if people, if business owners come to us and feel slightly aggrieved or confused as to why they didn't get the work and etc. How do we safely manage that?
Chris is probably the best one to talk.
Otherwise I'll get croakier as I talk. I think there's a feedback process in terms of any procurement, and I think that's naturally something that should occur. So in those scenarios, any questions around weightings and those types of things, we can certainly be feeding back. I'm happy to get the right person to talk to the example you're referring to.
I'm just concerned about the safety. Us ourselves, we've got to be very careful that we don't sort of say, that doesn't sound right, and then advocate for them.
There should be a feedback process to unsuccessful tenders and to hear, this is why you're unsuccessful, or these are what the weightings were. The weightings will be in the tender documentation at the start, although they should be clear on what those are. So yeah, I don't know the specific procurement, so I probably can't talk in any more detail than that.
No, but it's perhaps from us as elected members, say to you and your team, and who's the contact person?
I think you can. There'll be within that particular procurement there'll be a contact person, but if you're not clear on who that is, you can pop it back to Ryan or myself, and we can find the right person.
Yeah.
Just on that, with our current procurement policy, do we actually provide a weighting for local versus non-local?
I don't think we do. We've got it as a sort of 5 things within there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there is a localism part within the policy that it refers to as being a priority. But yes, it's up to that procurement plan that would actually feed into evaluation criteria for individual procurement. So it'd be the design of that procurement plan.
Thank you. Any further questions to the report? There appear to be none. There are no questions under standing orders. To my knowledge, no urgent general business? No? Matters to be considered and public excluded. So I'll move from the chair and go to public excluded. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ward, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried. We are now public